allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we call this meeting to order. Excuse me. So I am looking for a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes from July 12th, 2021. Okay, so Rebecca and Mark, are there any comments, questions, or corrections to the minutes? No? Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. Opening up to public comment. So I would like to make a public comment. President of Speculator. There were quite a few people in the village this weekend for different weddings and stuff like that, and it was very heartwarming to hear them say how friendly the village was, how great it looked. They've been here years before, haven't been here recently, but they loved the way the park and everything was clean and vibrant, and so thank you, Roger. So so it was nice to get a nice report. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, we will close public comment and ask Roger for his monthly updates.
All right, last 30 days is pretty much the same stuff we always do, mow, weed eat. We clean ditches every chance we get, don't get a lot of chance in the summer. I wanted to pay road cuts that haven't been run next month. We're going to try to, we still might be able to do it. I'm going to try to do it Wednesday, but I don't know if it is either rubber or not. Hauling crusher around, garbage recyclables, shoulder work, low branches for the signs especially along the road, cut out. We're all checking the dirt section on Lake Road, and fixing potholes when we can. Hopefully those two big dips on Elm Lake Road we can grind and put pavement in when we do our road cuts here.
Yeah, and there's a dip on at the end of Wilbur that was cut for that center line for the.
We're going to try to well, as many as we can with one truck, and then shoot for another day for the rest.
And Roger, Elm Lake Road, the dirt section, has that been holding up with all the?
Yeah, it's been holding up really good.
Sorry, please continue.
Okay, next month is mow, weed eat, cut branches, clean ditches. We're going to start working on roads that we're going to pave, which we've already started. We made a couple road cuts for culverts and rocks that we have to dig out and like that. Garbage recyclables. Start installing LED lights. Hauling crusher around for the roads that we're working on. Dirt section on Lake Road, shoulder work. Help the water department with a hydrant dig. And try to get in staying in the gazebo. If we can, it's not ready for the next month. 60 days, same stuff, roadside ditching, ready road for paving, mowing weed eat, work on the elm source, or check dirt section Elm Lake Road, work on footers for tower, I hope. Sure. Yeah, I hope. Garbage and recycle, clean ditches, hanging branches, the potholes. Work on cross-country bridge if the water ever goes down. And our chips, I'm going to pave Old Mountain Drive and Western Pine Drive. Might be Western Pine Drive. Okay. And Burks Avenue, let's figure out that we're still for our chips hauling in item 4, crushed around. I might have to stock a few culverts when I find out what we're going to need up there. We got quite a few over there, so I might be good. Submit the blower and the truck chips, which I filled out the paperwork today, and pay road cuts.
So what does that mean, submit a blower and truck to get a new blower?
No, they're already bought.
The cost.
Just a reimbursement.
Got it. And the blower is the sidewalk cleaner?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, just to be sure of that. So, Roger, within these activities, as we had talked before, Niner had requested that we take down the children at play signs. Yep. So we had wanted to do that by the end of summer. So that would be within your next 30 days that you
Right.
take down the children at play signs.
And are we gonna replace them with anything, or have we decided?
We don't have anything to replace it that meets the federal requirements.
Okay.
So by means of the paper with the minute or children's sign or something, that residents would do that of their own accord. And I think it should be noted, didn't we have 7 children that play signs on Elm Lake Road?
6.
6, which is quite a few with the,
Yeah, there's 14 up in total.
14 in total, yeah.
With all the roads, not just Elm Lake.
Right, okay, so there were a few additional things that we needed to speak with you about. So the first is a resolution. So this is resolution amending the 2021 budget for the 2021 Chevy pickup truck introduced by Crystal. So this is a resolution that shall be known as amending the 2021-22 budget for the 2021 Chevy pickup. So as you will recall, the pickup was supposed to be arriving by May 21st. It did not. So now we're into the next fiscal year. It had been budgeted in 2021 and the delivery was delayed until this month. So, and that was due to GMC having manufacturing delays and ship delays, so all the cars have been delayed. So this item will be reimbursed by CHIPS fully, so there's actually no impact on our fund balance, which is a great thing. So I am looking for someone to make a motion for this resolution, so that will increase the budgeted revenue code 3501. And with the CHIPS expenditure. So Cindy and second by Mark. Any questions or comments? So the truck amount is $26,806. Okay, all in favor for this resolution, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Okay, motion carries. Congratulations on the truck. Get a ride.
We are gonna put, DPW on the truck just to make sure with the chip thing.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So is that an extra cost, Roger?
No.
Okay, so still speaking with Roger, I am looking at the NYMER report and I'm looking.
I've got something for that.
Okay, terrific. So there were a number of things, not too horrible, but I thought we did pretty good for the risk assessment. So the playground surface and swings. So you're hoping to do that this week with the
If we do the road checks, it's what we might have to do next week. But it won't take all that long, so we might get a chance to do that. We just have to dress up the sand a little bit and put a few more chips in there.
okay, because I think that's important since summer's our high season and the playground is used quite a bit. Have the swings come in yet?
No.
Okay.
So nothing, so I'm hoping it comes in.
So that those have been ordered.
They've been ordered, there was a new company, we had to send in a bunch of different things and then tax them things and all that, so hopefully that'll be coming.
Okay. Then we've already addressed the children at play signs. And then the sign inventory. So I know you have a list of numbers, but we had talked about putting together a spreadsheet,
You know,
as far as what roads they're located on, if they're located on a junction. Because part of the DPW inventory is to make sure that we look at them twice a year. And so we can document that on a spreadsheet when they've been evaluated. Make sure that you can see them by cutting down the brush. And so Roger and I talked about having something in the car that if we see something, you can cut it quickly, and if it requires more, then the guys will come in.
Yeah, there's one that was gonna cut by the school.
yeah, I know Josh has been up doing some of that, I don't know how much he's got done, but every chance that he's not doing garbage or mowing, I have it done, right, just.
Terrific, terrific. So that's,
About the ones.
okay, so that's important to do. So we just need the specifics and the locations, and then we can do the spreadsheet so that we can check it, so when Mr. Nymer comes back.
And just so you know,
Yep.
other than a few of them, all the stop signs really are ours, come on, they're on the edge of a state road, so the state puts them up.
Oh.
So I mean, if one was damaged, we could Lisa, I'm not saying that, I'm just sort of, you know,
Okay,
I really don't own all the stop signs.
okay. If you happen to see a stop sign that's covered over that
Yeah,
doesn't necessarily belong to us,
I would still clear it.
thank you. I know you.
The
do.
stop signs are pretty good because they're right up by the edge, they're in that block, but you're right. The state usually keeps pretty good track of those.
Right. As we had discussed at our last meeting, there's a New York State regulation requiring anyone who does excavation to be certified with, Dig New York. So we have a time when you guys are gonna be certified?
Do not have a time set up yet.
Okay,
I can
so we were going to do that.
All year.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna set right up and.
Okay, so within the next month, within the next 30 days, if we can have that done. So that way it could show you, into Labor Day. Okay, the next thing on the minor list are oxy-acetylene torches that are required to have flashback arresters at the regulator and reverse flow check valve at the torch end for the fuel and the oxygen lines.
Yeah.
So have those been ordered?
They've been, I called the guy, he's got them, so we should be getting them, so we might have to run down, I don't know.
How far down is it?
He's just in John's house,
Those tanks used? Or you don't think?
I believe we own it, but I know we swap tanks out all the time, but I think we own the setup, I don't know if we own the tanks.
Okay, so we can get that within the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then the electrical control panels, I guess, have been there for a long time and are kind of faded with the writing on there, so.
Yeah, the list at the door is faded, he just wants me to put a new sticker in there, but didn't realize that it wasn't, so.
Right, so that will have labels. So that's gonna link it to any device or controlled area, so in case of an emergency, someone can run over and go, okay, this is what I need to turn on, or whatever drill, All right, the rest of NYMER will address under new business. You had additional things?
No, that's it.
And how is the million parking lot? You need to.
When it rains, the public gathers because it's so low, the water keeps up. As soon as it stops raining, it flows out good. But it just gets so high that there's no place for it to come in, it runs, but it doesn't drain completely.
Okay, so there's nothing is there anything more we can do?
I don't think so. If we dig any deeper, then the stream itself can come back in the parking lot, so. Can't go any deeper unless we go the other direction. Toward the swamp, but the right away is a little bit more money, but I don't know if that's even gonna, because the swamp fills up too, so.
Okay.
It's just also low that, but like I said, as soon as it stops raining, the water all does drain on it.
All right, so yeah, let's keep an eye on it. It's much better than it was, so that's good. And the last bit with Public Works and wastewater treatment plant is that we do have the job posted. So Crystal, it's been posted in the Hamilton County Express and on our website. You've been asked and Ed's been asked for any additional places where we might post. So you're gonna ask around to supervise, other highway supervisors where
They
they
say they just post it on the website and then in the paper, and I don't know if there's any.
Got 2 dozen,
Right now, we have 3. Another fellow dropped in today.
so we should do
Yes,
this week and next week, so we can hire somebody about that.
yeah, so I'd like to see that we can do that. So I thought if we waited to the end of this week to see if anyone else came in, and then we'll call this week to set up appointments as early in the week as we can, to interview them, and then hopefully make a decision, next week. And then that'll bring us in time to the board meeting to vote. All right, I think there seems to be some good candidates, so.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
If we do pick somebody, we should probably let them know right away.
Yes.
Yeah, so they can get the 2 weeks notice, they can start the week after we vote.
Right, so we'll be able to start before Labor Day. Or somewhere around Labor Day.
Hopefully before that.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Only at the last week.
Right. I know where we are. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, comments for Roger? Yes.
I have one. In one of the reports, for the beach, they're doing
after risk assessment, they needed two-way radio, do they have that yet?
Oh, that's
Oh,
not.
that's in mine, yeah.
Yeah.
I say, they asked me about
It's like the rest.
Yeah, no, we've got it,
Yeah.
yeah. We've got that. I had it in my office and didn't. I actually have 2 things in mine, yeah. So that's all taken care of. Good, all right, well,
All right,
run while you can, Roger.
have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, next up is the treasurer's report.
So the AUD has been submitted, today. I did send you all a copy of that, but I did tell you that it wasn't necessary to read it, so feel free to take your time, look it over. It is a long, document with lots of numbers, so, if you have any questions, just let me know.
Great, and congratulations. You've done it in advance of when it's due, and that's really terrific. Yes, still in advance. Good.
I started uploading the documents for the audit, on Friday, or, I guess it was last Thursday. And then had another meeting with the auditor on Friday with Jeanette to discuss some of the LoSAP stuff. And then now that the, AED is complete, I can definitely spend some more time, which I plan on doing on Friday. As was, as Rebecca asked about the beach, we did get our inspection was done on the 16th. This is actually the first year that we haven't had any hazard violations, which is great. Yay. And the only reason the radio wasn't there was because it was in Jeanette's office and we hadn't brought it home yet, so that was completely honest. And it was down there within a couple, actually it was within a couple. Because it was on a Friday, and
Yeah.
the report didn't come in until Monday, and we got it on Wednesday. The water sewer billing, is going out Monday. They'll be reading during the week this week, probably Thursday. And we'll be sending them out. We do have quite a few people that signed up for the email billing, so hopefully that works out pretty well. And then,
And they can do that through the village website.
no, they have to ask us to sign up for the email billing.
Right.
You can look your bill up on the website and see how much you owe.
Okay.
But you have to request us to change that in your account
Okay.
before, the email billing.
Terrific.
And we actually just changed it to both email and turn billing for anybody that we already have an email in there for. So then if they, they would just get the email to register for the email billing, and a lot of people did, so that was good. I don't know if some people probably just were like, oh, that's fine, we'll just run away, but maybe they'll want to next time and we can do that. And then we're going to, after talking we had a financial meeting, last week, right?
Yes.
And we just went and it was suggested by Ted from Williamson. He asked why we didn't use a different method of calculating water and sewer revenues. It's where we would put, when we bill, we would put that amount into the revenues already, and then we would account for the payments through the 350 code. That way we would know at the end of every month, at the end of every quarter, how much is still owed in those, at the end of the year. It's a really good way of showing how much we're still owed, especially since there is that crossover between the last quarter and the last quarter of, that goes out in May, and the new fiscal year. So that'll help with just accounting in general for the water and sewer department, I think. So we're gonna move to that. We're gonna try it this billing cycle and see how that goes. Then I will be out of town this week, tomorrow through Thursday. Tracy's gonna be in the office though, and so far everything is set up for the week. As far as normal operations go. And then Jeanette had asked if I could do a quick brief presentation on the financial report if anybody is interested in that. or unless you guys all have the,
Just a high level review, so that we're all on the same page, so that we know what we're looking at when we go through that, because it's not necessarily.
Yeah. So as you looked at this a few times now, but I did add a couple of things. This right here, obviously is our tiny page. But this is the monthly treasurer report. I'm pretty familiar with this, so I'm not going to show her. The monthly treasurer report just lays out each fund as far as what the balance was at the beginning of the month, or well, the end of last month. The increases and decreases for the month and what it is at the end, what it was at the end of the month. A lot of times, this cash in the checking, in the general fund checking, will be negative. It will show negative, especially in the beginning of the year. That's because we put the majority of our funds from tax collection into the money market account, because the money market account gets higher interest. And then as we go through the year and we do transfers for each abstract, and that slowly kind of evens out. Water and sewer, we don't do any pluses and minuses, but the money market as far as they go, and then trust and agency is the payroll and the different deductions for the employee benefits and all of that, retirement and health insurance and all of that. Check reconciliation, this is the general fund one. This will show all the checks for general water and sewer that have been cleared through the bank account throughout the month, and those that are left to be cleared. I always put in the first page of each statement after that. Mark Curry had asked if I could put the entire statement in last year, but the general fund statement is like 10 pages long, so that would make this much bulkier. Plus, the financial folder is available for anybody to look at right in our file folder right out here on the. And
it should be noted, we're a transparent government, so if people are interested to see how funds are going and how things are spent, people can.
This is the financial folder is in the unlocked cabinet right out here in the main area. It's in the file actually called financials, so. And they're set up per month, so if any of you want to just come in and look at something, you can like go in there and look at it, ask questions and stuff. More than happy to answer them. Then this is just a balance sheet for specifically the general fund. You'll find throughout this, it'll be the water, sewer, and the TA accounts. Also the sewer project fund account will actually the project fund, I don't know if that has a balance sheet. But most of them, all of them should have this balance sheet, and this is just a more of a breakdown of what happened throughout the month in general terms. This is the one that I just added this month, for June. And I'll be adding it every month now. This is the trial balance, so this also shows, it lists the appropriated reserves and all of that. So once we start setting up those reserves, once we finally put money in them, which we think we're planning on doing next time, or within the next couple of meetings, those will show up in here as well, and then it'll, it deducts expenditures and then adds revenues, so you kind of see where your fund balance is towards, at any given time. And then it shows all your liabilities, what hasn't been cashed out yet. We don't really do much with the accrued payables. If we had a lot more payments, we would do much better. And then these are the cash receipts. This is the cash receipts summary, so it just shows the summary of the different receivables that we had, revenues that we had. This is the more, this is the journal that shows them all laid out. as far as what they were and how much they.
It's a comprehensive report.
Yeah. And everything in it. Here is also the summary of revenue, so it shows the different funds, broken out, as well as the detail of revenues, which will show the exact, amounts broken down for each code.
And
And
cross check between different funds that, you see that you have revenues coming in one place and it'll show up in another.
so, and then it'll, the same thing for the cash disbursements, there's a summary of the disbursements, for each fund, so it'll be just like, say my, the clerk treasurer equipment fund, there's $1,000 was spent out of there, in June. And then this one's always longer, disbursements is always about 2 or 3 pages. And then this will show the breakdown of what was, paid out in those different funds. This one's like 7 pages long. Same with expenditures, shows the breakdown, for each code, and then the more detailed breakdown of each code. This year it is different, so we did add, some more of a breakdown to each code, which will give us more of, an understanding throughout the month of where certain monies are going to. And then it's just about the same thing for the water and sewer and TA accounts. That's all.
Thank you, Crystal. One thing within the accounts was, a projector and
Yes,
screen.
those are on order.
For Zoom or even here, so that when we go through things, we can all look at the same thing, so we're all on the same page, and that the public can also see what we're doing.
Not only that, but it'll allow for, if we have, like, the webinar, for the training for the guys, we can put it up on the big screen, and they won't all have to gather around a smaller computer. Yeah, it'll all be up on a big screen. It was something we had been planning on getting for a while, and it was still so that is finally on order, and will hopefully be in the next couple of weeks, so we can start using it.
Terrific. One additional thing for the water sewer billing, in the paper copy, and I'm sure it can show in the electronic copy, we would like to put a warning or an alert to, our water and sewer users especially, not to flush things like wipes. Even if they're flushable wipes, they are not flushable. So we had another 1 or 2 pumps this week that had to be pulled because they were tangled up with wipes. So that is going to bring show and tell the next month.
The only problem on the bill is that we have 2 lines with only about 20 characters-ish each line, so we really have to be crafty in how we want to put it on the bill.
Yeah. Well, we need to do something, so do not flush. Well, do not flush wipes. Good, thank you. Any questions or comments for Crystal? No?
Just that she is very good about answering questions.
Good.
Thanks.
Very good, very good. Okay, so I would like a motion to approve financial report number 1 of this year. Yes, so Rebecca? Second? Any more? Any questions or comments on the financial report? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries to accept. And then motion to approve abstract number 4. Okay, Mark, and then Cindy, second. Any questions or comments on abstract number 4? No, hearing none. Motion, all in favor of approving abstract number 4, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Okay, moving quickly through old business. nothing really, with COVID-19 update, although there are threats in other parts of our country to have some quasi shutdown with the Delta variant. I've not heard anything in Hamilton County.
Yeah, I looked at the report this morning, it hasn't been placed in Hamilton County.
Right, which is fantastic, which is fantastic, so.
we've all people with everybody needs to see.
Keep holding your breath. I know, keep holding your breath and sanitize, so. Halloween storm update, still waiting on a couple of projects with FEMA COVID update. I still need to, work with the ladies to fill out those horrible spreadsheets and get those in. Small cells, still waiting on things. We did get notification from T-Mobile, I was gonna say that under the roundtable, but with T-Mobile, they've notified us that they are putting in for an APA application to improve their cell tower connectivity. So the work is going to remain within a leased area on the tower. They'll get a building permit from Bob if they haven't applied for one already. And AT&T and Verizon have done likewise. So it's not going to increase the size of the tower, the height or anything like that, but should hopefully improve. We can only hope for it.
The height of the tower was increased 15 feet,
Correct.
so but other than that, it's not going any higher.
Whose tower, whose,
That was Verizon.
so Verizon,
Verizon's on top.
the map on top.
I can't even get cell service in my house if you still want.
No, I know. I don't know that the antennas are working yet.
I mean,
From what I understand, they were just working on putting them up.
Oh.
So if the tower increase happened, but the getting the other stuff up there was a problem.
Yeah, that was saying that there was some issues. Okay, with the fire tower, we did a soil test, this past week with Roger and the engineer. I believe were you able to connect with him?
I talked to him on the phone. He said he was gonna get me some more prints and stuff like that as to what's going on with everything,
Okay.
which I have not gotten yet.
Yep, nor have I.
I did speak to him and he was gonna draw some more detail.
Terrific.
And what he had shown us already.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting on that,
Yep.
so that we can, I did talk to him about our concerns and his concerns, so that was gonna be incorporated with this.
Terrific. So, as you know, once that comes in, and we're all good with that, we'll resubmit everything to the APA and then that process, another way to begin. So hopefully he's still shooting to get it up in the fall.
yeah, but we don't need an additional paperwork for the base, right?
Yes, we do.
We just need APA's approval, not just ours.
I don't know, can we put in the base without
The
the APA tower?
did the APA approve the tower?
Not yet.
Okay, so basically if they approve the tower, they approve the base. It's
And they're the ones who requested this.
that's kind of like a one-piece deal because you can't put the tower up without base, so.
And if you put the base up, you could do tap dates.
Does that base, can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Does that base include the electrical connection to it and all?
I haven't seen any drawings yet, so I couldn't tell you.
At this point in time, Jim, there is not electric to the tower, but there will be an opportunity to add electric to the tower. So there'll be a conduit.
And you want to control it, you can have a gate and be able to control it, time open and time close.
Right.
Yeah, emergency push button inside, so people can get out, the gate locks, but people can't get in and that's what you want.
It's just that anything over there with the helicopters coming in, we want to
I
be.
talked to him about putting some type of a light on top, a red light, so the aircraft can see it. I also talked to him about lightning protection, because it's gonna be the highest steel thing around. There's gonna be nothing higher, not even a tree.
We sure have got trees over 40 feet.
It's gonna be 50 foot to the roof,
48, but
50.
so they were increased enough flexibility. We're gonna have to cut down the light. Okay. Okay, that's a fire tower. LED streetlights. How many people have noticed that there are new streetlights?
And they don't bother me sleeping in.
Excellent, great. So the lights were in, it was pretty cool. So the streetlights were finally installed in the village last Friday and this past Monday. And I have received positive feedback from other people on the fact that all the lights are working. The light is clean and has that downward direction of light, and that there's actually a reduction in overall light pollution.
And what is gonna change the, our lamps, more.
Oh, good.
Yeah, those with,
Terrific. They do have LED lights.
They lights, but they're bright, they light out straight out.
They should be able to have shields. At least that's what National Grid said, so. It will work because it's really bright in our. Especially when you use it.
Yeah, I think that we'd have to write a letter to the school to put shields up for that. And we should receive our National Grid rebate in the next 2 weeks.
that's 5,000.
I believe so. So that'd be great. Okay, so at this point, I would like to invite Donna Benkovich of the Chamber of Commerce to present the Beer and Wine Festival. This is the second beer festival.
I'm not really prepared to present, that's why I sent you everything, I'll give a little talk on it.
Yes.
But it is the second, the first one was held in 2019, it was incredibly successful. We couldn't have it last year because of COVID, so we're bringing it back again this year. You've all received the safety and security measures, which should meet the standards that you're looking for.
So these are the same that we had in place for the 2019.
Yes, nothing has, yes. And things have been added, but nothing's been taken away.
So you'll still have the retired police officer, is that Eric? And the command.
Sheriff's office will be here, we'll have 2 color-coded wristbands for partakers. Only over 21 will be allowed in the pavilion. That's where the alcohol will be, and they will be proofed upon entering. They'll be given either a green, probably green wristband that they can taste and buy, or a red wristband saying that they are the designated driver. They're not allowed to taste, they can buy it, but they can't taste.
Okay. So, and you'll provide us with all the copies of the permits and the New York State liquor license.
Is that what you want?
Yes, yeah, to keep it with the file, and then a copy of the insurance.
Okay, so what do you want?
The insurance, holding the village harmless, and then a copy of the vendor's New York State liquor and tasting and marketing permits.
That's it?
And then the additional, so the chamber has a rider and all the vendors have a rider for the insurance, correct?
The vendors have COIs, one naming the village, one naming the chamber.
Yes. Yeah, so if we can just have all those copies.
That's the insurance.
Yeah, so and then it's noted that the chamber has secured a rider for
That's
liability
it.
as well.
Yeah.
How many vendors are there approximately, do you think?
Of alcohol. In 2019, I believe there was around 15. The pavilion can hold 26. We'd like to see somewhere around 20 to 25. That's really reaching, but we're hopeful.
Okay, and hopefully COVID will not be,
If that is, we'll follow whatever restrictions and guidelines are in place in the day of the event,
okay.
just like everybody else.
Terrific. Okay, and Jim Stickles will be back for
Yes.
scares.
Jim Stickles from BBC will be having a booth inside the pavilion to educate people on living with bears, which is what we do here.
Terrific.
Is the village interested in?
Yeah, so the last time, Dan Wilt and I on our own, put together some, cheese and crackers to raise money, so by donation for raising money for Bear Camp. So we got enough for one. Yeah, so we had enough for one bear can, if you can imagine, so, I mean, yeah, for cheese and crackers, yeah, so that's after the cost of the cheese and crackers, so, yeah, so it's good. So if anybody would like to help me do that, let's see if we do it again. So that'll be a little bit closer to the time.
The date of that again is?
October 2nd.
October 2nd?
Yeah, it really was a great success. It was a great success. And hopefully we will have cell tower service improved by then. We should have our small cell. Yeah, like we should have had our LED streetlights, but yeah, we should have. Yes, Jim?
Would a display of our living with bears be appropriate to have in like the main emporium, where you have the history stuff, and around the fire tower when we finally get it? Just a good display. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. As far as who would put up the display for bears, because we don't do that. The board doesn't do that, but
You can
is
talk to Jim and maybe he has some ideas.
a poster
Talk
or
to
something.
Jim.
You know?
No, I don't know, but I'm sure he'll help you.
He's very helpful.
They must have ideas and all kinds of things, so it's got school.
Do they post them at the campsites?
Well, the booth that they have actually in the pavilion, they get, most of the customers go through the pavilion, so that's his audience. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people stop there and ask questions, so that's why he does it there and not somewhere else. I mean, if you want posters or something, he may be able to provide those to put up somewhere, but the reason he's there is because that's where the people are gonna be.
A couple of years ago, when we had the big problem on one, 2, maybe 3 years ago,
Yeah, 3 years ago.
somehow I got posters that I put out everywhere that I could, what to do when you encounter a bear.
Right.
He actually
So
showed
they
up,
definitely come from him.
he actually showed up at a town meeting.
Maybe that,
He gave a
yes, that was the year.
he gave a presentation.
Maybe something down the road. Do we have those nice historical displays in there? If there's room for something else. And just as long.
I don't know who manages those.
The historical ones are the Historical Society.
Okay, so,
And other than that, it would be Jonathan's discretion. He's given the Historical Society permission to put up those posters. So,
Jim, we'd have to pursue that offline.
Gotcha.
Good. Thank you, Donna. We look forward to a great event and thank you for being organized.
thank you.
So now we can, speaking of being organized, we're back to mine. Yes. Now I would like to do Bob. Yes.
Okay,
Next.
I guess you all have the notes in front of you there that I put together.
Yes.
We got 34 permits this year to date, June 30th, and in 2020, we only had 20 permits, so we're ahead of permits. Residential buildings, last year we had 2, this year we only had 1. Alterations, last year we had 11, this year we have double that, 22.
Wow.
Additions, we had none last year, 2 this year. Demolitions, we're running the same, we had 2 last year, 2 this year. No septic systems this year, and 1 last year, no solid fuel running devices. 1 either deck or covered porch this year, with none last year. 1 well, 1 last year. 2 sheds with 1 last year. No garages this year, 1 last year. We only had 1 renewal so far this year. Commercial buildings, 1 last year, 1 this year. We have no pools this year, 1 last year. And we have 1 small cell facility which we're still waiting to get finished. There haven't been any stop work orders that had to be issued. No fires have been reported by the fire department. The one complaint that was acted on last year, and that was ongoing, was dismissed by the Indian Lake Town Court. I don't understand how they can dismiss a building complaint because it's not rectified, but they did anyway. So, a new judge, I don't know. Another complaint has been acted on. We've already sent 2 letters. We're waiting for a resolution to that, and if not, we're gonna have to issue citations.
Yeah, those citations will be issued within the next week or 2, I think, given the date that we have.
Yeah, I heard that they may be on vacation, so that's maybe why we haven't heard anything, but I don't know.
Doesn't matter, because they were notified in October. This is a food safety matter. That's it.
Unfortunately, it's the same family.
Yeah, so people had installed a pool and they had erected a fence that does not meet the standards and does not have the appropriate alarms as are required by the state of New York. So they were notified, when did we first notify them?
We notified them, I stopped in here in October, we sent them a letter in December, and again, just a couple of weeks ago.
Right, so nothing was done and they said we would wait, they would wait until supplies were available. So now supplies are back, and so we've sent a letter giving them 3 weeks to start correcting the matter. They were also told in October to contact the village hall to speak with us, and there have been no calls. So pool safety is very important, and we don't want any mishaps with children or drownings or near drownings to go on in that regard.
The second page, I just want to go over real quick. This is the reports that we get now from the new computer software. So you can see the permit numbers, the names, addresses, tax map numbers, the fee for the permit, and the project costs. And if you look at the back page, you'll see that your total count of permits is 34. Your permit fees collected to date is $1,765. And the value of those permits is $732,315. So this is a very helpful tool for the assessor, so that when he looks at stuff, he knows what's going on with the buildings and he can assess accordingly.
We had talked about, trying to cover all the expenditures by past fees. And you can see where $7,965, but there's $700,000. I think we have to really look at that and charge a percentage of the total cost, because it's a lot of difference between those two.
Or even if we banned it.
Yeah, it's a good sentence, because it's way too cheap.
Yeah.
Well, people build it because it's cheap. Although what they're spending is not cheap.
Well, no, what they're spending is
Especially these days.
ridiculous compared to what the total value of the structure is.
So Bob, I just have a quick question because it's the only one that stands out. At the bottom of page 121.0013, there's a pavilion, a 2520 addition of a pavilion that was $100 fee, and everything else is $50.
That's because it was the size, it was an addition.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And it's easy to use? The system is easy to use?
It's relatively easy for me to crank out the permits. The biggest drawback is that not everybody's in the system yet. So as time goes on, more and more people will be in the system. The goal would be to have everybody in the system.
Right.
I mean, that would be great, but I just, in 4 hours a day, I don't have time to do that.
Right.
It's just not possible.
All right, terrific, thank you. Any questions for Bob? So, this raises a comment that I was gonna wait till roundtable, but I'll say it now. I have asked Rick Rumsey, the zoning officer, and Matt O'Brien, chairman of the planning board, to update the zoning code book. So this was last updated, I believe, in 2000. So that's 21 years ago, if I do my math right. There are notes for corrections and improvements, but have not been done yet. So they will sit down together, however many representatives of the planning board, and Rick Rumsey. And I'm asking for one member of the board to be represented on that committee. And that estimates it'll take 2 or 3 meetings to do that max, because it's just a matter of sitting down and making corrections. But I think it's gonna be important as far as code enforcement and what penalties are and things like that have been missing. So at least some of these things will have some teeth, instead of, okay, we have to go to the judge, we can impart some fines or, do something like that. So instead of blowing smoke and saying, hey, you can't do that, at least this will give some teeth to work on. Did anyone? Yeah. It was funny that the zoning officer did request that the trustee name did not end in Rumsey. So I think that kind of limits. So, but, obviously I'll do that. So, but I'll be glad to see that. Yep. Right. Okay, so my next favorite thing is a resolution I put on anything on it. Yes?
Yeah, I was asked the question, like, what happens if they're gonna take down something that can't be moved?
Yeah, it's a demolition.
It's a demolition.
Like, so that 20 by 20 pavilion, if they decide to change the trading post or something in the future, that comes down, so there's a permit to take it down and a permit to alter the building.
Well, if they take it down, then you're gonna have a new building, a new building permit, right, which would be different, it would be based on square feet. But the demolition permit, one of the things that's involved with that is an asbestos survey. So if there's asbestos in the building, it can't go to the dump here, it has to be taken care of separately. And I have paperwork for that also.
Yeah, I see.
So Mel has a veto on that. Okay, any other questions for Bob? Okay, thank you. Our aim is to get you paid for, Bob. We're still paying you though, right?
Yeah, so far.
So the last point on the NYMER risk assessment, and it's actually the first point in his report. He mentions local law number 2 of 1995, and he mentions a village, 1985, sorry, and village law, New York State Village Law 6-628. And so what this is, it's to improve our liability coverage, basically. So the local law number 2 of 1985 currently reads that it only protects the municipality from civil action related to defective highway bridge or highway culvert unless prior written notice is given. However, when you read the New York State Consolidated Village Law, Article 6 on streets, sidewalks, public grounds, Section 6-628, liability of village in certain areas, is much broader in scope and offers much better protection for the village, in that it addresses damages or injuries to person or property sustained in consequence of any bridge or culvert, in addition to any street, any highway, sidewalk, or crosswalk, or for damages or injuries to people or property sustained solely in consequence of the existence of snow or ice, which we have not had before. So, as you know, laws go from the federal, the state, the county, to local laws, and the local laws will supersede all those other ones. So what we want to do is what I'm recommending is that we repeal local law number 2 of 1985, and then we just let the village law take place. So we don't have to do anything with the New York State Consolidated Village Law. So in order to repeal a law, you have to have a public hearing. So what I've done is I've provided a resolution outlining what local law 2 is, where its shortfall is, and how Consolidated Village Law Article 6-628 gives us a broader coverage. So this resolution asks that law number 2 will be repealed and let New York State Consolidated Village Law prevail following a public hearing that would be held on August 9th at our next board meeting. So may I have a motion to accept resolution to repeal local law number 2 of 1985? Jim and Rebecca, are there any questions or comments on this? We've been fortunate since 1985 not to have any suits to my knowledge. Knock on wood.
We're gonna cover 2 things.
Yes, we'll have 2 public hearings.
One would be the state law had gone to turn to courts already.
Yes. Yep. All right, so all in favor of accepting resolution to repeal local law number 2 of 19. Yeah,
You made a motion,
Jim made a motion and Rebecca made a motion. And then we have a comment section. And now all in favor, all opposed? Motion carries and we will have a public hearing on August 9th. Also on August 9th is the public hearing for the septic law addendum. So hopefully people will come and ask for that. Has anyone asked for that? All right. Okay, so that's fine. Next up are security cameras. We've been speaking, Chris and I have been speaking to way too many insurance people. So this was based on our other insurance, and he's mentioned it a few times that he is strongly suggesting and advising that we have safety measures installed at Village Hall that will protect us and will protect Crystal and Tracy while they're here, as well as myself.
But I think after talking about it, we're discussing getting them for also the
Yes.
DW, the water, and or the wastewater.
Okay, so we would look to get a security camera, probably one security camera, 2 security cameras for Village Hall, inside and outside. And then, since there is a package deal on security cameras, it has also come to light that we really do need a security camera down by the public bathrooms at the firehouse, not in the bathrooms, but outside.
A couple of, well, so the problem with the cameras at the fire station is they were put up, they froze, and then somehow, I don't know if somebody went in to try to fix them. Somehow they are not able to get into the cameras to reset them.
So now that's a crazy
So-
hijack, basically.
Yeah, and the company is from like Milwaukee or something, and they were like, well, we gotta send a technician out, we can't do it over the phone. And so there's no way to do that.
cheaper to buy a camera than send somebody.
Exactly. So we would like to,
That big deal to get the fire department and us together.
correct, and DPW at the garage, because sometimes there are issues down there. And as you know, not that we put out a dumpster, but the town also has cameras at their dumpster, so they know exactly who's throwing out trash and exactly who's littering. But we have things down there that we don't want stolen, and, you know, we wanna be good stewards. And then, I don't know whether this package would involve a potential camera for the fire tower. Would that be
Well,
fine?
you could put it on the pavilion. and just-
Correct. Do the
Well, I
pavilion.
think there's different options depending on which one you go with, different
Okay,
options.
would you like to run us through the options that you have priced out for us, please?
Oh, there are a lot.
Would you like to highlight the ones that you think are best for the village?
I looked at, wait, hold on, there's one too. I think we're missing. I think Casey's right.
That's on the back?
No, there's
Oh.
a
Oh. So you wanna highlight ones that you like?
So I actually looked at like, I think there's 5 different security cameras. 2 were, one was suggested by the insurance by our insurance broker, that was Ring. And Jeanette personally has Blink, so I looked at those two, but then I also, which is not on here, actually only half of my notes for that one's on here, but, and half of my notes for Blink. But, there's a company called, Lorex. They actually have commercial options as well with bigger packages, and access through an app plus a like hub where it stores up to 60 days of information. And then, Lorex Rombus, I think that's the way to pronounce it, and, I didn't get many options for Stanley because you gotta do everything through a person. They didn't have much, they had information on the website, but, I was kind of looking for, you know, pricing as well on the website, so I can see, compare them to the other, you know, the more standard Ring and, Link options. Both Ring and Link have, a subscription plan. You do not get the storage, unless you do the subscription plan, you do not store data. So they do not keep up to, I think both of them do up to 6 days of video history and 7 days of photo history. And you can download your options, all of that. And there's many different options to both the Ring and the Blink as far as inside and outside. The only thing I kind of was worried about was the fact that both Ring and Blink have only a rating of minus, like up to minus 22 or down to minus 22.
No.
Lorex and had options down to, and Rhombus had options down to, I think it was like 30 degrees below, zero, so, and they like, but they're pricier.
Do you know about how much it would run to initiate and then monthly?
So actually Lorex and Rhombus, because they both have the hubs for storing the data locally, their application doesn't come a monthly. And your,
Just a one-time?
yeah. It's on their sheet.
And is it going to be an issue having the different locations? Will they still
I don't
feed
think
in?
so, they still feed up, the Lorex, so they have commercial options, both of them. And the commercial options allow you to have them in different locations.
Oh.
Which is nice.
Also need internet cable, you need power.
Right,
And all those things have to be figured in the
Right.
cost, and you don't even know if your electrical panels, let's say per day, can
right.
you know, the circuits, so it's just.
Yeah, those are,
Cameras.
right, those options, the commercial options are wired.
Okay.
Ring and Blink are, they have battery options.
Right.
So that's the other, those are the other, pluses to
I
that.
would suggest get from two companies and then you do both, like, look at the sites,
Yeah.
determine what they need, and give you, two
I mean, I
local
thought-
companies.
I thought Ring or Blink for inside would be, like for inside here, would be a better option because they have the little, like, they have the really small little cameras and they're kind of like, you know, they're noticeable but not really, like not big in your face. And they do have options for like 1 or 2 packet or a package of 2 or 3, you know, so you have different options with them. That way, I just worry about the outdoor ones with the temperature range, with them freezing and all that.
And Ring would be $3 a month, even if we had 2 or 3 cameras on it?
That's the starting. They do have that's for one camera, itself. They do a package thing that's $10 a month.
Okay, so that would be $10 a month as well.
Yeah, I think that was lower now.
Okay, and that would have the 60 days of video history and 7 days of photo.
Right, yeah. Blink has the same kind of, package
Okay.
for multiple cameras.
And do you know how much the Blink things are? Oh, basic indoor stick is how it is.
They're about the same price as the ring. This is all ring, I
It's about $400.
should probably look it up online.
Often, you know, using some technology in all locations.
At all locations, so you're suggesting not doing ring?
No, I just suggest if you wanna call them in and look what some of the biggest thing is temperature. There's only one company, I only have one bid, that is as low as -67 degrees. Everybody else here is, Link doesn't say what the temperature would be next.
Yeah, well, I'm
A lot
trying
of
to see
them
if
just
it's.
-5.
Yeah, has anybody called the town just to see what they have and what it costs them?
And low 90, yes.
Just
No,
might be an option.
I just did an initial look.
What is Charlie John's?
Yeah, Charlie John's used to do it,
Oh, they did?
yeah. They had it, preceded it, so I don't know what the temperature ratings are.
Okay, so let's check with, Randy for the town and CJ's.
Is Cape Woods have any?
The answer to.
That would be a huge system, I would imagine.
Can I grab my other notes from the day, because there was another couple of points that I wanted to, that I was looking at.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the nice thing with the ring for inside, especially for here, is that it also, voice records. So there have been, I hate to say it, that there have been a handful of incidents where we have had irate people come in and start shouting and yelling and be very uncomfortable.
Also look at their state procurement contract, because
I did. They have some companies listed.
well, most of the people in the estimate for the whole entire product, which is discounted.
I did have, so the reason I looked at this point was because Sean, I happened to mention to Sean that we were looking at security cameras. And he said, look for the range, because Blink and Ring only have a 10-foot range. As far as, you know, the other cameras have up to, their range was much higher. I think, the Lorax had 130 feet, and then, that was low light. And then, Rhombus had 100 feet low light range. And then, the review both on Ring and Blink did not sound good as far as the low light situation either, so at night they just said, there was a lot of comments about how it was, you couldn't make out anything, in the night vision part, don't know. How that would go in there.
All right, so we'll do a little bit more research on that, thank you.
I can recopy this if anybody wants, so I did do links, oh, well, I sent it all to you as well. Cause I did do links to the different websites if anybody wanted to look at those. Ring and Blink are pretty good.
All right.
No, we don't want one with the fire station.
No.
No,
Not take that one.
not if we can't get somebody up here.
And when you want a retrievable
Yeah.
Security to get back in. And then,
I think there's an app on the phone or something, who's gonna
All of them,
notify it, like something happens.
right, so all of them have customizable alerts and you can set up multiple people, so. You can set up like Jeanette and I, or, you know, like Roger for the,
and Ed for the.
yeah. So at least if Jeanette's set up, she can then contact whoever else, let's go this after hours.
Yes. Okay, since streetlights will be the bane of my existence, I would like to point out that our friends at NIPA sent a bill for streetlight design. So going back all the way to 2018, the former mayor, Cheryl Costello, signed a contract and agreement with NIPA with the board's approval in July 2018 to prepare a final design report. And so at that time, it was like, how many lights, where are they gonna be, how bright, how this, whatever. So what wasn't clear to me at the time, but it is now, is that in that agreement that was signed after the board meeting, it said, if the village of Speculator moves forward with NIPA to construction, the cost of design and bidding is included with the total management fee for installation. Conversely, if you choose not to move forward, the cost will be due upon delivery of the initial customer implementation contract. So with that said, they have sent us a confusing bill, and that they will invoice. They have sent us a total project cost due of $8,052.20. But then in a very, very teeny tiny footnote, you will notice on your pages, it says total fee to be paid by customer is $1,800 more. So it's $9,814.89. So being who I am and chasing things down, we went through several iterations with NIPA. We had told them from the very beginning that we couldn't do anything without a management program with the lights, because in the NIPA scenario, the village owns the poles and owns the fixtures, and they're responsible for maintaining them. So that would require a cherry picker, someone who's able to work with that high level of electricity. And so the state said, no, we'll go back and we'll get someone to do that. Well, that number came back astronomical. And so that the overall cost at the end of the day for the lights, even the trimmed down version, would still have us paying back before we broke even of over 10 years. So in September of this past year, I wrote a note to NIPA saying thank you, but no thank you. Given the financial insecurity of COVID and National Grid program being straightforward, we opted not to proceed. So at that time, we had the costs that we were working on. And for some reason, they have chosen to increase those fees in the current cost. They have increased the fees by $3,000 on the design and construction management fee, and they have increased it another $1,000 for the authority management fee. So I just have a lot of questions as to where these bills are coming from, and of course their additional note that it's a few $1,000s more. So I have consulted with the village attorney. There is Article 11 of the agreement regarding disputes. We will dispute the cost. We will put in a number of items to that, and we will send a notice of dispute to NIPA. So there's no way we can pay that. So anyway, so that ends that happy tale, and we'll come back. I mentioned everything I had for roundtable, so Cindy, you got anything? Nothing?
Just that I'm gonna draft a request for proposals for the water extension on Route 30 at McCad, and then the documents, and ask 2 or 3 or 4 engineering companies to put on it.
Terrific.
So it'll take me a while, my kids are, probably by the end of 6 months.
Who else is on the water sewer committee? Is that?
Yeah, Jim, yeah, Jim is.
Jim? So Jim, yes. Would
Just
you,
the fire department.
you have fire. She has fire and finance.
Water and sewer.
Yes, so Jim, would you mind working with Mark to do that request for proposal? So part of this is that we've been using Lamont for decades, and Sometimes they do really well and sometimes not as well as we think they should.
Most of the time they don't.
So, since we've had an ongoing agreement with them for a very long time and we've never bid out to any other companies, I think it's time to see what other companies can do for us, because a part of these engineering firms also help us to secure funding. They help us with the planning, and it's not just with water and sewer, but it's also with DPW and capital projects and things like that. And so I think that one way that we can add value as a board to the village's speculator is to ensure that we have good planning going forward, and that we're not caught in a just in case, just in time, just an emergency proposal, so that we can have funds available that we can save up for different projects. So the importance of doing this now, even though we've got a project going on with Lamont to finish up the wastewater project, is that the funds that we're getting from the federal government is going to be in the amount of $31,000. And that money has to be spent on infrastructure by 2024. So there are design plans that have to go in, so there's the bidding, there's the design plans, and all those things take time to do. So it's not something we can turn on a dime, so we really need to make sure that we are properly in place for that. Thank you for that, and thank you, Jim. Okay, Rebecca? Nada? Jim? There you go. Yes, you have said more than you usually do. Okay, there's a planning board meeting tomorrow. Did I have 8? Oh my gosh, thank you. I need a approver. Okay, so, that is July. Yes, and open for public comment? Hearing nothing. Motion to end the meeting, adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, me either.
Cindy and Rebecca.
I like to say,